Countrywide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lamp.
Mike Casey, Chair of Rewiring Aotearoa, is on the line. A cherry grower, and I know Mike wouldn't be very keen on any pests and coming in and decimating his cherry crops. G'day, mate. Welcome to the show.
Definitely not. I think we're both in agreement that less pests is ideal, and we'll let you listeners decide whether cherries or blueberries are better, eh?
Oh, I don't know. I think I know what you... Look, they're both fantastic. They're both superfoods. Should we put it that way?
Totally. No,
Yeah.
supporting growers is what we're all about in New Zealand. Growing a horticulture. It's a big movement in New Zealand at the moment.
Well, Mike, look, appreciate your time and thanks for coming on. We've second time in a week on the show, and we caught up with you on, I think it was Tuesday. Great to have you at the Primary Industry New Zealand conference, and I know it was an absolute fantastic night there. But as I rang you this morning, and I just wanted to know, do you have a direct line to the government? Is everything Mike Casey asked for of the government when it comes to solar, is it just an automatic yes?
It feels like all my Christmases have come together at once. If you'd asked me last week, I would have said absolutely not. But the amount of stuff that has happened in the last week since I've spoken to you has been, actually it was earlier this week, wasn't it? Wow, it wasn't even that long ago.
Did you
the
know
last couple of days has been phenomenal. No clue that this was being announced. I got called by Minister Watts at 9:30 that night, letting us know that there was going to be a big announcement tomorrow and that we were going to be really happy about it. But he was pretty tight-lipped on what that actually meant, but he was right, very happy about it.
So we'll talk about the announcement in a couple of seconds, but did you know, I mean, you had been pitching this, did you know that they were working on it and it was a possibility?
Yes, so we've been floating this idea of low interest, long-term flexible finance to allow New Zealanders to upgrade their lives and lower their bills for a considerable length of time, 2 years, and probably delivered a business case to them about 8-9 months ago. And my whole goal here was to make sure that ultimately I believe this is a good decision for everyone in New Zealand, regardless of political perspectives, was to really make sure that we got all political parties on board with what we were trying to achieve here, which is the better we have access to finance, the faster we can go through this transition, the more money we can save our people in our country. And my main focus here was making sure that this wasn't just a product that was rolled out to residential or urban New Zealanders. It was something that was also available to rural New Zealanders. So I was really glad to be able to clarify that point had been well heard, and this was going to be something that was applicable to every rateable property. And yeah, got name dropped by the Prime Minister a couple of times. The dopamine was running deep in my veins yesterday. It's been a whirlwind of a 24-hour period for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, and I was talking to Steve Abel earlier in the show, and I said to him, when I first heard you pitch this 18 or so months ago was the first time I heard you talking about it. I thought, oh, that's a nice idea. Pie in the sky will never happen. I just didn't think that there would be the political will to make such a change. So let's just talk through then exactly what has been announced from the government on this. So it is an election proposal, election pledge. Yep. What is it? How does it work? And focus particularly on farms.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, and I think that's what we're all here to do, is make sure that farmers can contribute and take advantage of this massive energy transition that's on the horizon. Long story short, farmers miss out on these green loans from the banks to put solar on their rooftops, right? You don't get a 1% or a 0% loan if your property is rurally zoned. That is something that only residential people have access to. So that's a big problem. Ultimately, lending money on low interest rates over a long period of time gives the ability for households and farms to lower their outgoings immediately. Energy is a massive opportunity for farmers to lower their farm input costs from day one if you can get low enough finance over a long enough period of term to basically put solar panels on the dairy shed to save money, potentially look at electrifying vehicles, all of those kinds of things. So it's a big, remarkable opportunity in this space for farmers who are looking at getting into things like solar and batteries, what that means for their own input costs, what that means for additional revenue stream. Long story short, what it's going to be is finance secured on your property, probably a 3.5% to 4% interest rate, about a 1.5% below market interest rates, on really long, flexible terms. That allows you to start saving money immediately. You could use those savings to pay back the loan faster. or put it towards other things in the operation on your farm. And the fact that it's been done on farms is something that I'm incredibly proud of, because I see farmers as playing such a critical role in this future energy transition. So it was a big win there as well.
So on farm, will it be done via rates?
Yeah, so this is something to point to clarify. I actually think that this has the potential to be a world-leading finance product, because it requires almost no taxpayer funding and almost no ratepayer funding. Your ratepayer bill will go up only if you elect to take out the loan to do improvements to your farm. And my hope is the savings from those improvements will pay the additional rate bill cost, right? What it is it's an extension of the local government funding authority, which has been a very, very, very successful thing to have happen, that has allowed councils to have very, very low interest rates, lower than central government. And what it is an extension to allow that interest rate to be available to all of the ratepayers or all of the rated properties in New Zealand. There'll be some rules around it, how much you can lend, how much equity you have to have in your property to make sure it's safe finance. But the one thing I love about this is it's safe and trustworthy, and it's incredibly long-term. And because it's not necessarily commercial, it's also really, really flexible. You can pay it off really quickly with no penalties. You can extend it out over a long period of time. And in many cases, you might even be able to apply to defer it for a period of time if you're falling on a bit of tough times. So yeah, really exciting, but very, very small amount of upfront capital to the taxpayer just to get the thing set up. And that very much is self-sustaining from that point on. So that's why I'm so excited about it.
So there must be a limit, though, for this. A farmer wouldn't be able to set up a commercial operation effectively, or am I misreading it?
So this is the other part that we really need to define. And the other part of the announcement is what is permittable on farm as an activity.
Yep.
Now, we get the win really quickly for that one, regardless of the finance being set up. A farmer should be able to install about 1 megawatt of solar on their farm without the councils getting in the way. They should just be able to do it, because that is subscale from a utility scale perspective. So it's not a solar farm, it's a farmer with solar. So set the limit nice and high. Most farmers in New Zealand are rolling out 200 to 300 kilowatt, 1,000 kilowatt or a megawatt. That seems like a really good limit. That's well future-proofed and we don't have to address for a long, long time. Also batteries, another big problem. Councils were like, how do I consent for batteries? It's never been a thing before, right? So making sure that rule happens. The other big one is micro hydro on farm. I know a lot of your listeners take advantage of micro hydro or would like to take advantage of micro hydro. If it's non-consumptive, if it's just water flowing through a turbine and continuing on its way, then there's a lot less consenting requirements required. So it's just other forms of energy generation that are going to mean that farmers pretty much have their own private oil well and refinery on farm. And that is the most efficient way to deliver energy to your dairy shed and your irrigator and whatever it might be.
So what about then if it's locked in on your rates, then does it continue if you sell the property? What's the rules around that?
This is one of the biggest wins, right? And it applies to both residential households as well as farms. Hey, I plan to sell up in 5-6 years. It's not worth it for me to install solar on my roof because I won't get the full complete capital payback. With this system, the financing or the debt is on the property itself. The next buyer can come along and buy the property, and that rates bill stays, the debt stays on the rates bill essentially. So it becomes a point where at the point of sale, you can negotiate with the buyer. It is a bullet point on the sale and purchase agreement, or that this debt exists, that it needs to be paid off. How would we like to settle this? Would we like to clear this now as part of the transaction? Or are you happy to take it on and continue on with that? I'll get the benefit from the savings for the amount of time I've lived under these solar panels, and you'll get the benefit of the savings moving forward.
Yeah, coming back, and I talked about this. I've been keen to do it on my place, but I'm not sure how long I'm going to own both of the houses. And then it's been an impediment. But now, if I want to do it, bang, put it on rates, not a problem, pay it, job done, get the benefit straight away. I think it's a fantastic. As I said to you, I didn't actually believe you'd get it through. Honestly, I really didn't.
I mean, I honestly didn't think I would either. And to be honest, I've been the spokesperson for it, or the main megaphone of it. This has been developed by some of the most clever finance people in New Zealand, local government New Zealand, local government funding authority, Cameron Partners, you name it, they have been involved with setting this up. What makes this so exciting is this is really taking billions of dollars of overseas capital and bonds, getting the interest rate really low and delivering it out to the people of New Zealand to make the upgrades to their homes to save money, upgrades to their farms to save money. I think this is actually going to be world leading. I think once we get this over the line and it's actually established, it's legislated, and it's up and running, I think the rest of the world will be looking at us and going, wow, this is the way that we get this done. This is how we swap fuels for finance. This is ultimately how we shepherd our entire economy from where it is now to where it needs to be in 2040. And I'm super proud of our country that we've managed to get this over the line.
So interestingly enough, as I was speaking to Steve Abel about it, he said to me that there is 15 Green votes already in the bag. That doesn't need to be an election policy, election pledge. This could be put in law tomorrow if National wants to. They could put this in right now.
That's the next thing to argue, right? Like, it is an election party promise from the National Party. All the other parties, I think, except the ACT Party, have, in some way, shape, or form said yes to it. The Greens aggressively. Labor said on the radio yesterday that they were for it. Shane Jones has said to me that he's for it. He said publicly in the Queenstown debates on energy that he was for it. Like, it is across the board just a slam dunk policy. And so then the question is, okay, great, guys, let's put on our big boy and big girl pants and let's get done what needs to be done for New Zealanders. This is so important. And if you can all get together, maybe New Zealanders will restore a little bit of their faith in politics because we see people actually doing what's in our best interest. So my whole thing now for the next few months is to fight for that. And, I might run out of time because it's not going to be too long before we're in caretaker government, but maybe we could rush it through under urgency. We could get the bureaucrats then onto the task of implementing it while the coalition agreement gets done and all that kind of thing. And, if we do it now, this thing will be up and running by next winter. And wouldn't that be amazing?
Well, they can do it because you saw it a few years ago when they famously rushed through a pay rise in about 7.5 seconds. So with the right will, they can do it. Shouldn't bring that up. I'll get in trouble with some of my politician mates. Hey, Mike, just one last question before we go to sport, and I can see Brian Ashby there waiting. The ISP, the multiple ISP on farms, that's not part of this though, but where is that at? Have you got a win on that?
No, so not yet. So we've got, this is on the finance side, this is a local government set of rules and regulations that we've got changed. Multiple ISP sits with the Electricity Authority. Again, every single politician that we talk to thinks that farmers should be able to pair ICPs together so that if they're selling their power on one ICP, they can buy it back at the same price on the other one. Netting off ICPs, treating a farm who might have multiple grid connections as the same connection, is super important. We have spoken a lot to the EA about this, but again, I think it's going to come down to a politician willing to stick their neck out a little bit and be like, this just seems to make sense. Let's go ahead and do it. All right, and it'll get done. So it's another big policy that I have that I'd really like delivered to farmers, hopefully very soon.
Well, Mike, from now on, I've got a new policy. Whenever I want anything done in government, I just get you to ask, okay? Job done.
As long as it's energy related. Got to stick to your lane, got to stick to what you know. We'll let the... your previous guests talk about pests, for example, and we'll stick to what we know and what we're experts in, and just fight for a better country across all those verticals, eh?
All right, mate, you're doing a fantastic job. Mike Casey, Rewiring Aotearoa. Thanks for your time, mate. We will talk again. Andy. All right. Look, an amazing policy, and again, a little bit of follow up here. We will talk to a particular politician. Maybe we might even get the Prime Minister on the line and ask him whether we can have an election campaign, or not even an election campaign. Let's just get it passed. They will say they've got a very heavy they've got a very heavy schedule of legislation to get through, but as I said, they managed to get through a pay rise in 7.5 seconds. I reckon they could do this right through every reading that they need.
Countrywide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam Lamb.